A woman abducted by an abortionist and sold as a child shares how God saved her life. Jane Blasio is on now to talk about her experience being sold at birth.
This is a kind of a crazy story, actually. Your birth mom took you to have an abortion, to abort you, but the abortionist didn't abort you. Tell us what happened.
So that is not confirmed. Okay, so I don't have that confirmation, but a lot
of because that's a horrible story. That's true.
Yes. So now what happened was there was another birth mother that has been confirmed that was her story. So that was not mine, but that was somebody else's story. And there were a lot of women that went to the doctor because it was an abortion clinic. And sometimes if the child was viable, if it was a late term abortion, he would go ahead and sell the child.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how many children were affected by this?
So we believe approximately 200 babies came out of the clinic and went to the Akron area alone. So it could be upwards of the 200.
Wow, 200. Now, and you said there have been confirmed cases where the doctor did, in fact, take these babies. Do we have any idea if the birth moms were involved in the process of deciding this, or did they not know? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so there were a lot of different circumstances. Some of the women were married with children, and their husbands took them to the clinic, and they thought they were going to go home with the baby, and Dr. Hicks would tell them that the baby died, and then he would sell the baby. Or they would have twins, and he would tell them one didn't make it, or he just wouldn't tell them that they had twins.
Wow.
Because there wasn't a lot of prenatal care and, just a lot of different circumstances. So, if they didn't know they had twins, well, then he just went ahead and sold one of them.
So what exactly happened to these children after they were sold?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? There was a process, and I can tell you what happened with me and my sister and some of the other adoptees, where basically he called them and called the parents and said, I have a baby. And, it's a huge story, a lot of details, so it can be very confusing to just answer it in one question. So people would be put on a waiting list, and he would call them and say, I have a baby. And then you have 24 hours to come down and get the baby, or I go to the next person on the waiting list. So then the parents would drive from Akron, Ohio, or from wherever it was that they were from, and they would go ahead and give him cash or a check and get a baby for it. Now, what I said about it being, a few more details on that is that there were so many people that went there, and there were so many different circumstances. I keep hearing more and more different stories that are coming out of the clinic on the darkness of what he did and with the abortions, because he was known for the abortions more than he was for the adoptions. When I first ran into the town and started doing the research, no one knew about the adoptions. They knew about the abortions.
I almost hate to ask this question.
Good.
What did he get for a baby? What was his going price?
So it ranged from 200, and we have someone that just came out in the last couple of years where he was charging $10,000 per baby.
$10,000.
Yeah, which confirms what I've said all along. This wasn't something that he was doing to help the women. Huh. He was doing this as a business.
Wow.
So, and you have to think too, $200 to $1,000, that was the majority of the prices. In today's numbers, you're looking at $30,000, $40,000 per baby. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. That's disturbing. Now, how long was this Dr. Thomas Hicks doing this? At what point? Is he still alive today? Has he passed? Or when did this end?
No. So he died in 1972.
Okay.
And so it started in the 40s and went into the 60s. And to date, I'm the last one to come out of there, and that was in 1965.
You were the last one?
Yes, that we know of. So.
Wow. We're talking with Jane Blasio. She's got a book out called Taken at Birth, which you can find over at bakerpublishinggroup.com, by the way. You should check that out. Now, so tell us about how you grow up and how this affected you, and when did you learn about your past, and what went on in your life as you discovered that?
So my sister Michelle was also bought from the clinic 4 years earlier. So one day when I was 6 years old, I got called into the house, and my parents explained that we were adopted because we had heard on the playground that day someone had said that we were black market babies. Ooh. And that they for us. Yes. And I was 6, so I really didn't understand it. I just understood that there was some intensity going on between my parents and my sister and what they were talking about. My sister, Michelle, she knew a little more. She was 10 years old. So that was very intense. So that was when it started. And then it just kind of built. Every time I would find more information out. And as I got older and understood more what adopted meant, and then, eventually confirming and understanding what, black market meant. So it was early on, I started, I just it's kind of my reality. And you don't think that there's anything that's, special about, about your growing up when it's a little crazy, because people say to me all the time, this is, wow, what a crazy circumstance. But when it's yours and you're dealing with it and you're just trying to find your information, it's really not that crazy.
Now, my oldest son is adopted, so I can appreciate at least some of the story. But at what point in your life did you feel the need? Because I understand you're sort of leading the charge for these Hicks babies. So at what point in your life did you feel the need to investigate, to figure some stuff out, to organize the other children that were involved?
Oh, so my whole life, there's two answers to that. My whole life, I knew I wanted to find my birth family. From the time I understood what adopted was, I wanted to know who looked like me. I wanted to know, where I got my genes from, my heritage. So that was always, and I also didn't like to be told no. So that's basically, people always say, oh, but what you did. I'm like, oh no. No one likes to be told no, and no one likes to be lied to. And so that was basically what was the basis of my going back and finding my birth family was I just wanted to know who I look like. And if someone told me I couldn't do that, then that was, I found it anyway. Around, Yeah. The story broke in 1997. I had been researching it, investigating it from the early 80s. And when I turned 18, I really, had been doing the search for years by myself, and I got to a point where I knew, all kinds of stories about the doctor, the townsfolk, the birth mothers, and hearing these stories, some of the kids, and I had been doing it mostly by myself, and so I thought, well, if I just get the other people, with me, the other Hicks babies with me, they could help me out. And when I found out that there were approximately 200 other babies that were sold to Akron, Ohio alone, that was when I said, okay, let me see if I can't find some of them. And so I approached a newspaper and asked them to put it in one of their columns. It was a very popular columnist. And I just put a little note in there that said, anyone from the Hicks Clinic, if you could give me, could contact me. And then it went from there, and it became a front page story, and it just kind of blew up from there.
Oh, wow.
So that was 97 when the group of us got together and started to kind of, form and move forward from there. So it's been a long time.
Can you give us a sort of an understanding of maybe the scale of impact this has had on some of those victims? Where are they at? Has there been, I'm trying to understand the emotional damage done here. Have some people handled it better than others? Maybe you can give us some sense of that.
Okay. Well, first of all, no one likes to be lied to.
Yeah. Amen.
Everybody deserves the truth, no matter what it is in their life, their circumstance. No one should have anything hidden from them. Everything comes out in the light. So I think that is one of the biggest things. Adoptees deal with abandonment issues. Where did they come from? And there's always that basis, and you're not being told, 100% of what's going on. So I think everybody that is affected by the Hicks Clinic, because they have no way to go back and get their records, they have to basically depending on the media to help us out, and then having to research it and, investigate. So that right there, I think a lot of people are very weary, have trust issues. If you know anything about the abandonment issues, that definitely applies to this group. But we have some very extreme issues. We have some of the Hicks babies and their adoptive families were abused, some sexually, some emotionally. And it runs across the chords of, of everything, adopted or not. But the thing with this that was really one of the worst things, just one of the worst things, was that there's no safety net for these children. None. So, you have a baby and you take it home. What are you going to, what happens if that home isn't good? What happens? There's a situation where the adoptive parents passed away very young. So then where does that child go?
We have about a minute and a half left in the conversation. What, to your knowledge, is anything like this happening today? Is this like something in a bygone era?
This was one of the earlier American examples of human trafficking. So exactly like this, I don't know. I would say no. It's probably going to fall more into like gray market adoption. But it is definitely a good example of human trafficking. You're selling something. You're selling a baby. You're selling someone just for the sheer business part of it, with absolutely no ties to who that person is as humanity. It's just as bad as the abortion part.
Wow.
Turning a human being into a commodity.
Now, do you get together with these other children out of this Hicks Clinic? Do you guys get together, frequently, or how does that work?
So as a larger group, not often, but I do have some of them that are like family to me. Some people that I consider to be my sisters and my brothers, and because we've been doing this together since 1997.
Wow.
So common bonds.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine there's a lot of consolation and support in being with a group that can understand and appreciate what you've been through. The book is Taken at Birth, and it's put out by Baker Publishing Group. You can find them at bakerpublishinggroup.com. That's bakerpublishinggroup.com. They have an ebook version as well, so you might want to check that out. But we're very grateful to you for being on with us and sharing this story. Boy, it makes our gut wrench to hear these types of things, but we're very glad to see God moving through you to help these other people. So, Jane Blasio, thank you for your time today.
If you like that interview, then be sure to check out some of our other interviews that you might find fascinating. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share this interview with someone that you think will find this informative and inspiring. God love you.